What's going on, everybody? This is the Ball Up Top podcast YouTube show. I'm your host, Mike. We're doing a series we're calling the Kevin Durant Sweepstakes. For those of you who don't know, Durant asked to be traded from Brooklyn with 4 years left on his deal, which creates a very unique situation in the NBA where you have a guy who's one of the top players in the league with a long term deal that wants out. So I'm of the opinion that basically almost every team should be making that phone call, especially teams that you wouldn't normally think of having an elite player. And one of those teams actually is the Indiana Pacers. Um, they're a team that is looking to rebuild, looking for an identity. You get Durant with some of these young players, you make a move here or there, and all of a sudden the Pacers are in contention. I mean, doing the Durant deal alone would not be enough, but I feel like they would be a year away from being a true contender at that point. So if you haven't watched the series before, we actually started this a couple days ago where we started off with the Phoenix Suns. We then did Brooklyn, and I made a case for why Brooklyn shouldn't trade them. Last episode we did the Denver Nuggets. So here we are with the Indiana Pacers. I am using the website fanspo.com. Their NBA trade machine is probably the best one that I've found. Um, but I figured that it would be good to to just show you guys like what it is I'm thinking. It does a really good job of breaking down the numbers. It doesn't let you break trade rules. So yeah, overall, like I just think this is probably the way to go. So with the Pacers, obviously we start with Kevin Durant. Now the Pacers are in a unique situation because they have $23 million in cap space. They don't actually have to send out this $44 million. That's not saying that we're not going to. I'm just saying they don't have to. It also means that any contract that Brooklyn has that they don't like, whether it's Joe Harris or Seth Curry or Patty Mills, they like Cam Thomas. They're not looking to get rid of him. I don't. They just re-signed Patty Mills, so they're not really looking to get rid of him. But they could probably get away with throwing in there and get an extra draft pick. So for the sake of argument, because I keep hearing his name thrown around, we're going to also throw in Joe Harris. So we're going to trade him into the Pacers. So right now, the Pacers are $40 million over the cap. So Joe Harris basically ate up the cap space, and Kevin Durant then sent them over. Now, the Pacers don't have what Brooklyn is looking for as in terms of players. Brooklyn's looking for an all-star player and another young player that could be an all-star. So they don't really have that to give. The the only, and I say only relatively speaking, quote unquote star they have is Tyrese Halliburton, who the Pacers are not going to move. He's what they've got, and you can't pair Durant up with nothing. So, what does that mean? That means Pacers are going to start off by sending good players. Now, TJ Warren just agreed to a deal with Brooklyn. And if they needed to, if they were serious talks with the Pacers, they could look to do some sort of sign and trade to fill in the gaps. But with the Pacers being over 20 million under cap, there's not really a need for that. Um, so first we send Buddy Hield, and Buddy's got 21 million. It would He's a very tradable piece. If they're like they could always turn around and use him to make a deal. Um, so yeah, he's and the thing is what I'm hearing is that Brooklyn still wants to be competitive, and but he can help them with that. He can play off the ball. So playing with a guy like Kyrie, playing with Ben Simmons, like he will fit naturally. And his 3-point shooting, though it's not as good as Joe Harris, will fill some of that void. But he does have a 2-year deal. The next guy I would throw in would be Miles Turner because Turner's an expiring deal. He's on a cap friendly contract. He's a good big. He can shoot the three. He's constantly over the last couple of years been in conversations at some point in times during the season for defensive player of the year. He blocks shots he's a good affordable pickup, and also like Buddy, he can be turned around and flipped for a first round pick at a later date if they want to. So the next is I want to give them I would have to give them a young prospect, which would probably be Chris Duarte from their Pacers first round pick last year. He's a two guard. He's shown a lot of like clutch plays. So I'd really kind of look to put him in there. They have their rookie Benedict. I can't pronounce his last name, so forgive me. Mathurin. And the problem with him is he is at this stage he's not been signed, so he would have to be signed first. So the trade machine won't really allow me to use it because he hasn't been signed yet. So we're going to just use Duarte. But I would say that I would give Brooklyn their choice of whichever one they wanted. So we're going to trade him to the Nets also. So if you look, the Pacers have went from 23 million in cap to about 3.5. So yeah, like this deal financially will work just fine. The real question then becomes with the picks. Now this is something Indiana has quite a bit of. They have it hasn't been recorded yet, but on here they do have Boston's 2023 pick from the Malcolm Brogdon trade. As you can see, it's not on here yet. So here's what I do. The Pacers, in order to maximize what they're going to get, I'm gonna I'm gonna move over the Pacers pick, but understand this is actually Boston's pick that I'm moving over. I just want to sit there and make sure I have a pick over there. I also move over Cleveland's pick. So I give them but the reason I don't give them Pacers pick in that year is because we're going to turn around and give them the Pacers first round pick in 24. So now, like, instead of having to skip, if we gave them the Pacers pick in 24, they couldn't have it in 25. I'm trying to get Brooklyn more picks earlier. Now, obviously, that would be subject to what Brooklyn wants to do. And as I said, like, we're going to pretend this is Boston's pick, but I'm going to have to take it off when the trade goes through because if not, it's going to tell me the stipend rule will not allow it. So, yeah. So then we also trade the 24 pick. These are all unprotected, by the way. Pacers keep the 25. We trade the 26. The Pacers keep the 27. And we trade the 28. So essentially, what the Pacers lose in star power, they gain in draft picks. So we just traded them 5 first round picks. That like the price has to be steep because they don't have the all stars or the superstars or the young player who think, oh, he's not. They don't have any of that. So since they don't have any of that, the draft pick price for the Pacers would have to be steep. Um, and then what we would do is we would sit there and start looking at like, okay, maybe the Pacers 23 first round pick, we do a swap with Brooklyn, and maybe maybe basically every other pick we just do the swap. So we're looking at 5 draft picks with the option of like 3 swaps. So that's kind of a total of 8 draft picks that they're looking at, with the combination of adding in Duarte, Turner, and Heald. As you can see, everybody's roster is too big at this point. But overall, but what happens here overall is also something that's really big for Brooklyn is this this over the tax mark. because by bringing that down significantly, it's going to save them a lot of money, which will also because basically the Pacers are eating 20 million in salary in this deal. And if you're a team that you know you're not going to go to the finals, lowering your luxury tax is kind of important. And so, but that's what we have. Let's go ahead and run to see if it works. Let's try the trade, and bam, it's successful. Um, According to this, the Pacers actually lose a win. I don't buy that, not even a little bit, because Pacers were the sixth worst team in the league, and you're adding Kevin Durant to them. Brooklyn gains a win. I mean, you still have Kyrie, you still have Ben Simmons. There's like Brooklyn, you fill out the roster, and who knows? But that's what we got. We got the Indiana Pacers is another successful trade. This was the Kevin Durant Sweepstakes from Ball Up Top. Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, do all those things for social media and YouTube. Comment. We love to hear from you guys. We try to respond to all comments. Check out our Instagram page at Ball Up Top Podcast and our Twitter page at Ball Up Top Pod. And we will see you next time. Next episode, we are going to do the New Orleans Pelicans, who I think actually have the best chance of signing him. So until next time, I'm your host, Mike. Peace.